Joining us from Deep East Texas, down in Brookeland, we have the head coach of the Brookeland Lady Cats softball team, McKenzie Vaughan. And who's with you, Coach? Who we got with you here?
This is my pitcher, Paige Powell.
All right, Paige and McKenzie. What's up, Paige? How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Good, good. So let's talk a little bit, Coach. I want to start with you. Let's talk about this season so far. According to Max Prep, 16-3. I know some things can get lost on the records there, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. But 16-3 overall record this season, and just kind of running through these playoffs. I would say, last year we talked, and it was a lot of runs against very little runs. This year, the Slocum series specifically had a little tighter battle there, but talk to me just about this season as a whole. Obviously, having a target on your back as going to the state game a year ago. What's this season been like for you?
This season has been, it feels like so short and it's gone by very fast. We jumped in with 2 practices and then we started district play this year again. Actually, we missed a tournament that we got last year because UIL pushed the dates back for softball. But it's been kind of like head down running. Last year, our playoff route was a little bit easier, I would say. This year we ran into Slocum, who's probably, I'm just going to be honest, I think that was the state game right there. They're a tough team, and it was a battle for sure for our girls, which is really good because if we don't get those tests when we just keep rolling through, we're never going to have to actually pull ourselves out of a problem, or when we're down, to come back and win a game. So it's been short but full of everything.
Well, it does sound like it's been an eventful year, and that's crazy. And I remember this now talking to you last year. There wasn't many games before district started because of basketball running late like it did last year, and all that. Now you say UIL moving dates, like it just compacts the season. But you're back at the state semifinals again. And Paige, I want to talk to you. I want to ask you, what grade are you in, Paige?
I'm a junior this year.
Junior this year. Okay, so take me through this season for you. And I'm assuming you played basketball too, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so coming right out of basketball into softball and then right into the fire, right into district play. I know you had to do it last year too, but how is that as an athlete going from one sport to the other and then kind of having to change gears from being in basketball mode to now softball mode?
It definitely took a lot for us to get locked in on softball because we have a lot of girls on our softball team that are deeply committed in basketball, but it's hard to be, committed in both. But we definitely had to have a change of aspect and be like, okay, we need to return again. We got to lock in for playoffs and just to have another undefeated district champs and stuff like that. And it's really hard because even when we finish basketball, we have track, tennis, and all of that. I actually just came back from state track, so that was it was hard missing practice and having to lock in on that when I'm so focused on softball. But it's just a big shift in focus and having to pick where you put your time and stuff like that. But we've definitely came around and put all of our hard work into softball and just made sure we give our effort other places too.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, yes, you got a silver, I believe, in high jump. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, sir.
Second year in a row you got silver in high jump, right?
Last year I got third, this year I got second.
So next year you're winning it all. That's what I'm seeing. We're keeping the
Going for
pattern going.
gold.
I love it. And
Yes,
well,
sir.
how hard is that as an athlete, right? Like you're in the middle of a playoff run, obviously focused on softball and going back to state. And then in the middle of that, you have a state track meet that you need to go to and compete at and do well there too. So as an athlete, how difficult is it to balance all that? You talked about having to balance from sport to sport, but when they're all going on at the same time, how difficult is that?
It's really difficult. I had to talk to my track coach and be like, I'm so sorry. I'm so locked in on softball. I know I haven't been giving you my all, but it's definitely a challenge having to pick where you put your time. And, being an athlete, you get tired. So it's hard to give 100% everywhere, but you definitely try your best to just even out and just give your effort everywhere you can.
Coach, I want to ask you as a coach, is Paige your only girl that was in track too that was having a split time, or did you have other girls that were having a split time as well?
I had about 7 girls, I believe, that were splitting time. So that put them gone on Thursdays for track. They would leave early from practice on Wednesdays to go to track practice because we don't have a track. So yeah, to say it was stressful, and on top of that, those same girls played tennis and made it to regionals. So if you can imagine how I felt, it was very stressful.
That is crazy. But and we talk about that all the time, especially at 1A schools, at smaller schools. You play
Mhm.
everything. You play every sport. Like you're always involved. And then when you're good at those sports, then you're playing deeper in those seasons, and they all kind of run together. That I can only what. So, coach, to ask me about this, how is the relationships with the other coaches to work with this? Like, obviously, you have tons of athletes that are crossing over into multiple sports. So, how is it working with the other coaches to make sure that the athletes, one, don't get burnt out because you don't want to wear them into the ground, right? But also that there's enough time to practice everything.
Well, there's never enough time to practice everything, but we do what we can. We just have a special group of girls who are willing to go extra. I mean, they would practice softball, and then sometimes they would go do their track workout, and they wouldn't get home till later in the evening. And I think it just really, the coaching staff, we all communicate, we work together because we want them to be successful in everything they do. And it is a little bit more difficult with softball being the team sport because it's hard to have a good full practice when you don't have your full team there. But I always say there's something that you can work on individually, and that just gives me more one-on-one time with the kids that are there. But the ones that are doing both, they'll go to track practice, and then they might come back after track practice and hit in the cages or go pitch or get some balls on the field on the weekend with their dads. It's just a joint effort to make sure that these kiddos are successful.
I couldn't imagine. That is insane. So, Paige, I do want to ask you too. I want to go back to obviously last year going to the state championship game, falling to Jonesboro there 9-8 in the title game. But then coming into this season, what was your mindset coming in off that state championship appearance, and then coming in this year? What was your mindset going into this season?
My mindset was whatever we half did last year, we're giving 100% this year. If that was us running halfway during warm-ups, halfway, we're running a full foul pole this year. Everything this year had to be 100% to make sure that we went for the gold and fully got the gold. Just practices had to be 100%, like everybody full effort. Like the little mistakes we made last year we're not making this year. This year, whatever we have to do, we will do to get the gold. No matter what sacrifices, what effort, what time we have to sacrifice, we're going to go and do whatever we have to go and win it.
And Coach, I want to ask you. You mentioned the Slocum series and how it was a 4-3 game and a 6-4 game, and that's easily been the closest games in the postseason for you. Going back to last year, there wasn't any of those close matchups in the postseason. So, do you think that that series against Slocum, do you think that's going to help you going forward now that you've had a some adversity this postseason, whereas last season you kind of didn't have any until that state game?
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like that's going to prepare us a lot more. We love a 3 inning, 5 inning ball game, especially when you're traveling 2 hours. But really having to perform the whole entire 7 innings and just put in that extra effort to win that game, that's something that's going to help us for sure in Austin and in the state semifinals. But I remember talking to you after the playoff game. You hit me up, and I'm like, "Oh, we just lost," and you were like, I think I ended the conversation with, "We'll be back next year," and I meant that. So
Yeah, that is. I remember that on the field in Austin last year after the game, and I do vividly remember you saying we'll be back, and still got one game to win to get there, but there
yeah.
is the goal is there, and it's right there. And I do want to ask, because we're going to play some highlights of last year's state game, and I want to ask you, Coach. I'll start with you. What is something that you've learned through this season, that you learned from last year losing that game in the state game? What's something you've kind of worked on and learned this year to get back to Austin this year?
The biggest thing to me that we've learned is like the effort part and not giving up. We had a few tough district games, and I think that helped prepare us as well. I mean, we played Groveton, who's in the state semifinals right now. We played Pineland. Just the biggest thing that I took away from last year, like Paige said, is what we didn't do 100% last year, we're doing 100% this year because everyone else is putting in that work as well. And if we're not doing it 100%, there's really no point. So just giving our full effort all the time and just rising to the occasion, honestly.
And Paige, I want to ask you, and I know we still have one game to get through, but I'm focusing on Austin, and let's say that we win this Thursday, and then we're moving on to Austin, right? What is something that you learned from being on that state stage last year, playing at UT on that field and that environment? What's something that you learned last year that you can kind of take into this year, and if you do make it to Austin, take that back with you?
Well, definitely our game last year showed that it's not over until the last inning, the last second, because I'm not gonna lie, at the beginning I was like, "Oh gosh, this is not looking too good." And then my team stepped up and we all stepped up and we ended up in a one-run ball game. And it really shows like it's not over till it's over. And I think our mindsets changed. Like it's okay if they score a few at the beginning because we have an entire game. So I think definitely this season we've had a different aspect and mindset of each game, and our mentality's just been different. Like an error, okay, will you have the next ball instead of just sticking on the past, just looking for the next play and what we can do better the next whatever comes at us.
All right, Coach, you got Moulton on Thursday, right, in New Caney, I believe. It's a one-game playoff. What do we know about this Moulton team, and what's it going to take to get the win on Thursday to go back to Austin?
Um, I know that I've watched them play. Thankfully, a few schools that they played before had their YouTube up and on, so I got to watch a full game. And honestly, basically, what we're gonna have to do to win that game is just hit the ball well. I'm not worried about us defensively. I'm not worried about Paige in the circle. I know she's gonna deal like she always does, but our biggest issue is hitting pitchers that are slower than we're used to hitting and getting that timing down. But we've been working for the last 2 weeks on that, and I think that's something that we're gonna be okay with. Because we've been there, and that's the biggest thing that we have on top of Moulton, I feel like this year. Just like Jonesboro had on us last year, the nerves are definitely something that played a huge part in last year. And this year, when you've been there before, you have a lot more confidence. So I think that's one thing that we have too, is just the confidence and the experience at this point in the season.
That's funny you say that, because yeah, last year y'all were the team that hadn't been there before and it was new to y'all, and now you're coming back as kind of the vets. Is we've been here before and now we want to go back there. So Paige, last question for you, and then I'll let y'all get out of here. Being in the circle, being the pitcher, it begins and ends with you, right? Like you kind of dictate how the team goes there in the circle. So when you go out to start a game, what's your mindset as you get into the circle and get out there, and how do you, if you let a runner get on or if you walk somebody or give up a couple of hits, what is that shift in mindset that you have to lock in and then get out of that inning and kind of not let a lot of runs come across the board?
Well, it's definitely on moving on to the next play, like one pitch at a time mindset, and just like if one runner gets on, it's okay because we're setting up for a double play. Like it's okay, and just moving on and just setting up for new things. And just another thing is just staying calm. Like it's okay if something happens because, like I said, we have an entire game, and just trusting my team, trusting whatever happens, they'll have my back. And even if they mess up, like we still have the next play, we still have to get our bats hot, we still have the next inning to get those three up, three down. But just definitely focusing on move to the next play. Like you can't dwell on it. If they score a few runs, it's okay. Just keep them from scoring anymore.
I lied, Coach. Last question for you, and then I'll let you go. We talked
Okay.
about the community, right? All the support that I believe Riley and Paige, when they medaled down there at state for Brookeland, we had people reaching out, wanting, telling us about that. So when you get the support from this community that y'all have, what does that mean to you, and what does it mean to the girls on the team as well to have the whole town behind y'all?
No, I said the same thing last year. If we didn't have the community that we had, we wouldn't be able to be where we're at. If we didn't have the parents that we had, we wouldn't be able to have the team that we have. If we didn't have the admin we have. We wouldn't be able to, you know, do all these things, take a charter bus, stay in a nice hotel. You know what I'm saying? So it's a joint it's a joint effort, like I said earlier, to make these girls successful. And the best part about it is our community wants that. And it just is a really special feeling because it feels good to be wanted. It feels good to be supported. And I feel like when you have all of that and when you feel those feelings, you just you just play better. You do better because you want to do it for not only your team, but your community, your fans, for the little girls that are sitting there watching you that have a big old fat head of your face, like you just want to do it for them more, and it just makes it that much better.
That we're playing for something greater than just ourselves
Yes.
is a big part of it, for representing our family, our communities. We're representing the Lord and what He's done and that He's got us there. Like our playoff shirt saying, Jesus' name we pray. Everything we do is not just for us, but for so much more.
That's awesome. Well, I love that. First off, if you have any extras, I'll take one, a large, in Austin. So no, but that's awesome. I love that, and you're right. It absolutely it takes a village, right? It's not just one person or two people. It takes everyone in the community, and I know that's got to be great for y'all as players to look up. Well, I was going to say turn around and look, but you're looking at the stands when you're pitching to see all that blue and the blue and gold that are just up there in the stands supporting it. So I'm excited for y'all. Thank y'all so much for hopping on and talking to us today, Coach Vaughan and Paige Powell. And best of luck to y'all in Thursday in New Caney against Moulton. And then hopefully we'll see you next week in Austin.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all so much.